Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to the Acting Like a Mom podcast. I am Alicia, your host, and we are here to shine a spotlight on the incredible and often untold stories of mothers navigating the fast-paced world of the entertainment industry. Let's get to it. Lila. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Acting Like a Mom podcast. My name is Alicia, and today is a little special. This is the first episode that I am postpartum. Like, I'm not pregnant. First real time, because every other episode I was pregnant. So yay! No baby belly, like a belly, but like not a baby belly, like a food belly, food baby belly, something like, you know what I'm saying. And if you are watching, you will see that I am not in the same location. I am in a hotel. I am out of town. I am working and I am getting a break from the kids, and I do not feel guilty about it at all. I know I will miss them and I'll look at pictures at them, but I needed this. Like, this was great. I'm actually working a job, Just Dance. And if you know me, you know I've been working with this company for like, I don't know. It's one of my most amazing side hustles ever. I work the video game Just Dance. I've been doing this job for like 15 years at this point, and I have traveled all over the country. I've met some of my closest friends, like we are very close. So I'm so grateful for this job, and I'm so grateful for this break. This is definitely going to be the longest time I've ever been away from Harper. I don't think I've been away from her longer than like a full day's work. So like I'll feed her in the morning and when I get home at night. But this is going to be the first, and Mom is excited. I feel no guilt. I am so happy and so grateful to get this break. I originally had a different episode planned for today, but these last 2 weeks have been crazy. Like, there was Thanksgiving, and then I took a week off of the podcast because I was like, you know what? Like, it's a holiday. And then the next week, I had like a mental break, and I just didn't put out an episode, which made me feel worse because I was like, oh my gosh, you are a failure. You can't get it together. Just do it. You said you would commit. You said you were going to do it. And then I also, by the way, realized that this is like another job that I just gave myself. I just had so much time in the world that I just decided that making this podcast 6 months postpartum was a good idea. But I'm here and I'm committed and I'm back. This last week was one of the roughest weeks I've had, and I couldn't figure out why. It started making me feel like I was not adequate enough to be a good parent, like a good parent. I think trying to be a good parent makes parenting harder, I've realized, because you feel like you're not doing enough and you don't have enough patience and you aren't doing things right, or you're not teaching them enough. There's so many things, and if you didn't care, then it wouldn't bother you. But since I care, I just felt like I wasn't doing a good job. I had no patience. My temper was just rising. And honestly, my son was really trying me. I was making myself breakfast right next to the living room, and my son comes up, running up to me, and he says, wash hands. If he ever runs up to me and says, wash hands, I'm like, what is it? Sometimes he's even stuck his hands in his pants and plastered the wall. So I was like, ooh, what's on them? It was black soot. Black soot. He put his hands in the fireplace, swiped it, and must have just been painting the floor, the rug, the couch. It was everywhere. That was literally like, I just felt like my brain just went. I was already fed up. I was already feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling overwhelmed, overworked, not present. And I realized a couple of things. One, my period started. I get really emotional the week before my period. And it's like, when you get it and you're like, oh, everything makes sense. That's why I was like that. But everything is still valid, and you don't want it to invalidate all the feelings you have. It's just on 20 and it's unhinged. But has anyone else started their period earlier than they thought they would? With my son, I started at 6 months, and now she's almost 8 months and I started. But I'm still fully breastfeeding. So they say you're not supposed to when you breastfeed, but for whatever reason, my period said, hello. That definitely played a big part of me not being able to communicate or to figure out how to decompress. I think when I know that my period is coming or it's the week before my period, I know how to mentally deal with that. But I thought I was just losing my mind. I genuinely was like, I'm not a good mom. I am not adequate. I cannot do this. I had such imposter thoughts. I felt, oh, it was so bad. But the biggest thing that I realized I was doing was mourning my old self. And I didn't realize it. For some reason, I was under the impression, because I'm an older mom, actually my last pregnancy was considered geriatric. If you know, you know, all the appointments, you get so many more appointments, whatever, that's besides the point. In my mind, you hear people like mourning their old selves and this and that and the other. Before I got pregnant, I was like, this is the greatest time. I've traveled, I've done this, like I've had a good life. I've worked a lot of cool jobs. Not saying that I was going to stop, but just I felt like I was happy enough with the things that I have accomplished that a baby wouldn't throw me off. But I realized because I had all that time and because I felt all the freedom, because I was able to travel, because I was able to do things, I realized like what I'm missing. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm having trouble going with the flow of my new life and what it looks like. And I really thought that it wouldn't hit me like it did. I just can't understand the concept of why I can't just let it go. My life is forever changed and I'm grateful and it's beautiful, but I think I just have to figure out what the new version of me now and just go with the flow. Let the old and love her, and she was great. And oh, I love the old me. She was a little baddie. I wish I knew that then. And you know, this transition into motherhood and enjoying it. And I did learn a lot, and I have learned a lot, and I am a good mom. And not to mention, having two under two is pure madness. Like, I would not recommend it. I know that could be a mean thing to say, but I don't recommend it. I do think in 2 or 3 years, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, it was the best decision ever. But I'm literally in the trenches. Like I get why they say 202 is hard. It is because you have two kids that are going through continuous milestones where they both really need you. So you're spread really thin because neither one of the kids are able to do too much by themselves. Like my oldest son still needs me. He's not, sometimes I'm like, oh, he's so smart, he's so this, but it's like, no, he's still 2. And it's not that I'm necessarily treating him older, but I guess sometimes I just forget that he's 2. Like he's been on this world for 2 years. 2 years. That's crazy. But I did want to share some tips and tricks that I learned. I even wrote them down, made some notes. The first one kind of talks about what I briefly talked about earlier, was that he's 2. I don't think that I put pressure on him to do more, but I do think I think I had a bigger expectation of him. For instance, I thought that I could talk sense into him, but he doesn't understand common sense. Like, when it's like, oh, do they have common sense? No, he doesn't have common sense. He's 2. I think it was hard for me because one day he would understand something, or at least I think, and it seemed like he was cognitively understanding it. And then the next day he wouldn't. And to me, I'm like, you know what I'm saying. You literally just did it yesterday. But he doesn't. Just because he knew it yesterday doesn't mean he knew it today. Just because he liked to eat what he liked yesterday does not mean he's going to like it today. I mean, the food is going to get thrown. I don't know when that stage, I still don't know how to deal with that one, because I don't know when that stage ends. Does it end? I mean, it has to end. It better end. But what's the age cap on that? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like he'll look me dead in the eye and just like drop it. I feel so disrespected. That's what it is. No one in your life would ever disrespect you like your kids do. And they're not even intentionally disrespecting you. They're just doing things that you like. The amount of times that I get bit, my hair pulled, and I could say no, and he just doesn't care. He has so much energy. He thinks that I'm playing with him. Half the time he thinks I'm playing with him, and I expect him to have common sense. There's the pressure of like the oldest one that I think happens with a lot of families, of people having to take on responsibilities. And so now we don't want to do that to our kids. So we try really hard to not do that. But then it comes down to it, like, they were doing our best and I think we're doing our best. But when you know better, you do better. So now that we know, don't give the older one that much responsibilities, just in that whole space, just being aware that they're still kids. And I think that that's what I'm trying to um, and still giving them responsibilities that are like age appropriate. And I think that's something that I started to do. And I was like, okay, what is expected for 2 years? I mean, we have Google, we have YouTube University. We could literally learn anything we want. So take advantage of the resources and stop setting your own expectations off of what you think, because they seem like they understand and maybe they just don't. Another thing that I am actively working on right now is changing my tone. I react and it excites him. And when I react a certain way, I also feel like it waters down the words I say, like stop or don't do that. And I need for him to differentiate, like when I'm serious, like running in the street, touching the stove, doing things that are really dangerous. So I don't want to use the words stop, no, excessively. So I'm working on changing my tone and using my words differently. Instead of saying don't touch that, I'll say, oh, here, hand me that. Do you want to play with this? A lot of the things that he's getting in trouble for, I realize, is things that he's trying to imitate us, like sweeping, washing things, but he's using things he shouldn't be washing with. It's just all imitating things. So I think just switching the attention to something that he can play with has helped a lot, versus just saying, no, stop, put that down, because he gets excited. And another thing he's doing is like he thinks his sister's still a toy, and he'll like try and tip her over, and he thinks it's so funny. And when I react, I'm like, oh, don't do that. He thinks it's even more funnier, and he just thinks it's like a game that we're playing. So now he'll like tip her over, and I'm like, I'll grab her and I'll just take her away, because how can I expect him to really understand? Like, sure, I'm sure to some capacity he understands, but it seems like he really thinks this is a game. And I've noticed when I just kind of pick her up and take her away, it's not exciting. And then he just kind of moves on, versus him keep trying to like be defiant and pushing her and all that stuff. So that really helped, just changing my tone and not being like, yeah, but we're not perfect. I'm still working on it. That actually brings me to another one that I did in the beginning, was I just kept them apart because he just wasn't getting that she is not a toy. So instead of me stressing out and I was super hormonal and seeing him trying to like poke her or dig in her ear, it was just too much for me. I just kind of kept them separate to the best of my ability. And that was really helpful. I know that's a weird one, but just like with naps, I almost synced it to where they were napping alternatively. They weren't napping at the same time. Another tip is, if you have a partner, take shifts. That has saved us. We learned a little late with our first son, but with this one, we kind of just went back into the groove. Whatever works, but whoever is the morning person, whoever is the night person, like we took shifts during the night, and whoever was not on the shift was not in the room. They were in the other room on the couch with earplugs, so that at least one person could get solid sleep, because it wasn't helpful when both of us weren't getting sleep. It just was becoming miserable until you sleep train. I mean, and that's another one. I know that one. I feel like that's kind of controversial, but sleep train your kids. There's all different kinds of methods. We did the Ferber method. Ferber. That one's just kind of like adding time, letting them cry, and then it caps out at a certain point. But sleep train, you guys. Sleep train will change your life. If you're not getting sleep, just sleep train. It is hard. I can't say it like it's easy. It's very hard. Sometimes I would have to like close the door, plug my ears, and like set a timer, because it's just hard. It just hurts your little soul hearing your baby cry. But I think what helped me was knowing that ultimately it helped them, because after we sleep trained my son and I saw how good he was sleeping, and it helps me with my second kid as well, knowing that I'm helping them by establishing healthy sleep habits. So sleep train all the way. Another really big one, especially for the toddler, is getting out of the house. They have so much energy, and there's only so much you can do as the parent and having a new baby and holding and nursing and doing all this stuff. But if you take them out to the park, the library, there's always activities at the library. And they also get to socialize, because being stuck in the house, it's not a good place. And when you get clear to like exercise, go on walks. I started walking to the park. So it was like a double whammy. He got to play at the park and I got a little workout in. We all know that there's so many benefits to getting outside. So you just kind of just got to do it. It's hard in the beginning because it seems so daunting to get out of the house with 2 kids. It just seems impossible. And it's like all the work that you have to do. But then I also realized that time is taking away time that you have to figure out something to do with them. Because sometimes, especially at like 4 or whatever, and you're just like, I don't know what to do with these kids for the next 3 hours. We've done everything. When you get out of the house, that time it takes to get ready, takes some of the time away when you're trying to look for something to do. And that really helped me out. Like I said earlier, I was able to go on walks and get him out. I think just doing things for yourself, like going on walks, getting outside, working out for 15 minutes, like hopping on a bike, doing little squats during commercials. I know a lot of the times we're really focused on, the physical gain of working out, but it's really good for our mind. Setting a goal for 15 minutes to work out, for me, it was doable. I was like, I could do 15 minutes. At least you could do 15 minutes. There are so many videos online that are postpartum friendly. Even if you have like diastasis recti, I always say it wrong. If you have that, they have workouts for that. Like you could work out for 15 minutes. And if you feel motivated and you want to work out more, you could do it more. But I felt like 15 minutes, anyone can do 15 minutes. You got 2 kids, you could do 15 minutes. There's 15 minutes somewhere. And I think that it just kind of like builds your confidence in yourself. So definitely like put it aside to work out for like 15 minutes. Do it. Yeah. And in my opinion, the most important one, accept all help. Say yes. I feel like we get prideful and we start thinking like, we're doing too much for somebody. I am in the season of saying yes. Last week, when I was having my breakdown, a friend of mine who also has kids really close in mine, she drove like an hour and some change. And I feel like before I would have said, no, don't, please don't do that. Like don't do that. I said yes. And I'm so glad I did. I got so much done. I felt so accomplished. But just saying yes and accepting help has helped me so much with this pregnancy, whether it's with friends or family. And even my son, yes, my 2-year-old son, I realized that he likes to help. He loves when I ask him, like, throw out the diaper. He loves to throw out the diaper. So I ask him to throw out the diaper. I think giving them responsibilities that are age appropriate is so helpful for everybody. And I even see him problem solving. Like I'll say, throw this away, but he has to open the door and he can't open it. So he figures, I see him trying to figure it out and he puts the diaper down. Then he uses both hands and he opens it. And I love seeing just his mind grow like that. So accept help, even from your 2-year-old. And make sure you set realistic goals for yourself. I am a planner person. I love writing my planner. I love setting goals. I love highlighting, crossing off, getting it accomplished. That gives me all of the endorphins. But I realized I was setting really unrealistic goals for myself. So instead of setting all these goals, I would have like 3 things to get done today. Just 3 things to get done today. And I don't put a time for any of it. If I don't get it done, I don't get it done. Really, I'm just happy to accomplish one thing. Kind of just stopped using my planner and made like a rolling list of things to do. So it's like, even if there's like small things that need to be done, I would do that. And I did it. I feel so accomplished. That's it. Setting realistic goals, giving yourself grace is so helpful with this postpartum journey. So just give yourself grace. Okay, this is my final one because I need to get ready to go out to dinner tonight because I am a free woman. I'm going to eat my food in peace. I am going to just take my time. I'm going to get some wine. It's going to be great. So this is the last one. And I remember someone else told me this and I think it's really helpful. Don't blame the baby for not being able to do things with your toddler. For example, don't tell your toddler, we can't go right now because baby's sleeping. Don't say that because they could associate the baby with this negative tone. So instead you would say something like, oh yeah, the park, you want to go to the park? Well, let's eat something. Oh yeah, you want to go to the park? Let's go in like 30 minutes. Just affirm them and pivot and just, they won't know. They're babies. You can say whatever you want. Just don't blame it on the other kid. You don't want them to have any animosity towards them. And that is it. That's all I got. I mean, I got a lot more, but I'm really hungry and I'm really happy that I was able to do this episode in this quiet, beautiful hotel room where I don't have to make this bed or clean anything. Yes, that is all. I hope you all have an amazing week. I cannot wait to see you next week for the episode that I was going to put out this week, but it's going to be out next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here with me. If you liked what you heard, put a ding on it. Don't forget to rate and review. And remember, motherhood is the best hood.